I don't need to switch anything on. Okay. Just used to being told what to do. Your Excellencies, President von der Leyen and President Costa, our honored guests from the European Union, distinguished members of the European Union and South African delegations, it has been a real honor to jointly preside over this 8th South African European Union Summit, which has taken place here in the beautiful city of Cape Town, in our most beautiful country, South Africa. Your presence here today reflects our shared commitment to enhancing our strategic partnership for the mutual benefit of the peoples of Europe and the people of South Africa. Today's summit focuses on a number of issues that were covered and discussed during our summit, and they focus on strengthening our trade and investment relations, which are vital for the growth of our economies and the achievement of our development goals as South Africa. We have prioritized the issue of transition to green energy, ensuring that this process continues to be a just one, as well as an inclusive one, and safeguards the livelihoods of those who will be most affected by this transition. We also had discussion on our robust cooperation in a number of areas such as education, science, technology, and innovation, and health, as in the manufacturing of vaccines. We have recognized the vital importance of developing the skills and capabilities of young people, starting from early childhood development through to the training of young people in the skills of the future, and also cooperating in the area of producing PhD graduated people. At the global level, we reaffirmed our commitment to multilateralism, to the rule of law, and to the central role that is played by the United Nations in maintaining global peace and security. We also expressed our resolve to resist any actions that undermine multilateral cooperation. We reinforced our belief that the institutions of global governance must be reformed to make them representative and fit for purpose, particularly the United Nations Security Council, as well as the global financial institutions. We agreed that addressing the root causes of conflict is essential for achieving durable peace, security, and stability in the African continent. As South Africa, we have made a call for humanitarian intervention and assistance, particularly for displaced people in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, as we work to achieve a ceasefire and achieve a peaceful resolution of the conflict in the DRC. We are calling on the United Nations, the African Union, and the European Union to help to address the dire situation of the people affected by the fighting in the DRC. We have concluded a joint declaration that highlights the critical areas of our discussions. We welcome the announcement by the European Union of a global gateway investment package of some 4.7 billion euros, amounting to 94 billion rand, to assist strategic and to support strategic investment projects in our country. The investment package covers areas such as critical raw material processing, green hydrogen, renewable energy transport and digital infrastructure, local vaccine and pharmaceutical production, and the resources for skills development. To boost competitiveness of our economies, we agreed to launch negotiations towards a clean trade and investment partnership. This will support the development of cleaner value chains for raw materials and local beneficiation. It will also deal with renewable and low-carbon energy as well as clean technology. In addition to mobilizing investment, this partnership will also serve as a very good forum for regulatory cooperation between the EU and South Africa in areas of mutual interest related to clean supply chains as well. This partnership is expected, for example, to deliver short and long-term solutions to enable a company like Sasol to export sustainable fuel, especially aviation fuel, to the European Union. We look forward to contributing to the EU-Africa Ministerial and Summit meetings later this year. These meetings are important for advancing the African agenda and the EU's Global Gateway strategy, which supports the digitization as well as the infrastructure development across the African continent. Today's summit has further strengthened our strategic partnership, which will in many ways support our efforts to drive inclusive economic growth and also create jobs and also eradicate poverty and address the global challenges in a spirit of solidarity, also the spirit of collaboration and partnership. On behalf of the government and the people of South Africa, it has been a real pleasure to host our visitors and our friends and partners from Europe today, reaffirming our commitment to building strong, mutually beneficial relations with the European Union. It has truly been a real pleasure to have you all from Europe visiting Cape Town here in South Africa for our summit. And thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a true pleasure to be here today in Cape Town together with President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
And with the President of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen. Together, we have just concluded a highly successful European Union South African Summit, the first one in 7 years, but one that could not have come at a more crucial moment. The world has changed significantly since our last meeting. We have faced global pandemic and devastating conflicts, including Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, the crisis in the Middle East, and dramatic conflicts in the African continent. In these turbulent times, trusted partnerships are more important than ever. The European Union is and will remain a strong, reliable and predictable partner for South Africa. Today's discussions have reaffirmed the strength and depth of our enduring and strategic partnership, one built on shared values, mutual respect and a commitment to democracy, multilateralism, and a fairer and more sustainable world. We believe in strong multilateral institutions, a rules-based order, open dialogue, and global cooperation to tackle common challenges, whether in security, trade, climate action, or innovation. And this summit has demonstrated that our partnership is not only strategic, but also essential. And we are fully committed to work together to strengthen our multilateral institutions by reforming them in the way to be more representative and also to reform our the international financial institutions to have a fairer world in the future. To address global instability and insecurity, we have decided to launch a dedicated EU-South Africa peace, security and defense dialogue. We reaffirm our commitment to supporting peace efforts in Ukraine, in the occupied Palestinian territories, Sudan, South Sudan, and Democratic Republic of Congo and beyond. In order to fight climate change, inequality and poverty, today we have reaffirmed our commitment to Paris Agreement, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and the Pact for the Future. We need to act on this not only for the well-being of today's citizens, but for future generations as well. This is also a summit with concrete deliverables, as the President Ramaphosa stressed, and certainly Ursula von der Leyen will develop. I am confident that this partnership can be a driving force for global prosperity, a beacon for climate solutions, and a pillar of stability and security for the world. As South Africa holds the G20 presidency in 2025, the first on African soil, I can assure you that the EU stands firmly behind your efforts to strengthen multilateralism and drive meaningful global action. We fully support your agenda, focus on solidarity, equality, and sustainable development. Wonderful words. The achievements of G20 will be crucial not only for its members, but for the rest of the world. This summit has paved the way for even deeper cooperation and new opportunities for engagement. It is my hope that we will maintain the regularity of our summits. And dear President Ramaphosa, thank you for your hospitality and for hosting these landmark summits. And we are waiting for you next year in Brussels. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. President Ramaphosa, dear Cyril, thank you very much for the warm welcome and your hospitality. Thank you for receiving the President of the European Council, my friend António Costa, and me here in Cape Town, the mother city. Today it serves as the perfect backdrop for a new chapter in European Union South African relations. My dear Cyril, just 2 weeks ago, I stood at the Gandhi Memorial in New Delhi, and I reflected on the 21 years Gandhi spent here in South Africa, where he forged the principles that shaped his journey as a global leader. And we can take it as a sign that Europe's next crucial partnership must be with South Africa, a regional powerhouse, a strong voice for the global South. We both are vibrant democracies. We both have chosen unity in diversity. And we are both striving for a safe and prosperous future for our people. We stand for rules-based international order, and we stand for the rule of law over the rule of force. So today, here we are with Antonio at our first summit, Antonio and my first summit together, with a third country. What a perfect occasion. Thank you so very much, and I'm very glad that it is South Africa. Dear Cyril, we spoke together at G20 in Rio in November about green hydrogen and renewables. And today, to open this new chapter in our relations, Europe can contribute with, as you mentioned, the 4.7 billion euro investment package. We call it Global Gateway. As you said, it is around about 94 billion rand. And with this package, we want to work together on three key initiatives. First, together we invest massively in projects that support the Just Energy Transition Partnership. For example, an investment platform that will boost green hydrogen, batteries, renewables, all strategic industries for the future. We know that others are withdrawing, so here we want to be very clear with our message. We're doubling down with our support. We are here to stay. Second point, with this package, we are also investing in connectivity. We're investing in transport corridors, like the north-south Lubumbashi to Durban route, to upgrade railway and port infrastructure, so important for connectivity. And we are also investing together in digital networks. We will work on fiber and 5G, for example, so that South Africa as a whole country is connected, but also, of course, connected to the rest of the world. Finally, on health, indeed, we both learned bitter lessons during COVID-19. And therefore, we support your pharmaceutical industry with 700 million euro because it means vaccines and medication produced in South Africa for the people of South Africa and the wider African continent. And it is both in our shared interest and in the interest of global health that we promote here the pharmaceutical industry, because we know that diseases do not know any borders, so we have to join forces to fight them. This package will already make a big impact on our economies and the creation of good jobs, but now we have decided to go further. The European Union is South Africa's largest trading partner. We are launching now negotiations on a new generation of trade deal. We call it a clean trade and investment partnership. And South Africa will be the first to sign such an agreement. Basically, it is focusing on investment in clean energy transition, from hydrogen to renewable, you name it, but of course very much focusing also on skills, on the new technologies of the future. And important is for us that we develop strategic industries from the start to the finished product. So creating good jobs and growth right here in South Africa. We put a lot of emphasis on what you call, dear Cyril, beneficiation. So that for us it's a key principle that we invest, that the local value chain is being developed, that the added value stays here in South Africa. This is for us important. South Africa will benefit, our companies will benefit, and I think this is a true win-win situation. Our partnership will also extend to critical raw materials. We're here to invest along the full value chain too, from exploration to recycling. And we want to work together on the key industries of the future. I mentioned green hydrogen, but also, of course, electric vehicles and battery production, for example. I look forward to the signing of a memorandum of understanding. Our teams are working for it. And our plan is that we are able to sign in the margins of G20. Finally, dear Cyril, together we have launched a global campaign to power Africa with clean energy. As we all know, Africa has an enormous potential for renewable energy. The world is finally recognizing it. The World Bank has just joined our efforts, which is fantastic news, I think. We call it Scaling Up Renewables in Africa. And together we want to deliver cleaner, more sustainable power to millions of people. This autumn, again, in the margins of G20, we will hold a major pledging event to rally the world around this cause. It will take place in Johannesburg. Today's Global Gateway package is, and its focus on clean energy is already a significant pledge, and we hope that it is a strong signal to others to join this pledge and to contribute. So, President Ramaphosa, dear Cyril, as António already said, we are 100% behind you in making South Africa's G20 presidency a big success. This is going to be the first G20 summit ever held on the African continent. I think it's a powerful symbol. And it is an opportunity to drive real progress towards a more equitable and more sustainable world in line with your priorities. So we cannot wait to be back in South Africa. Thank you again, Cyril, for the warm hospitality and the excellent summit. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. We will now open the floor to questions. And the first question goes to Kaya. If you could please introduce yourself and the media house you represent. Thank you.
Hi, good day. It's Kaya Shekumari here from SABC News. Maybe just to get Mr. President, prior to this engagement, you were part of the SADC regional meeting around the situation in the eastern part of the DRC. And we've seen the termination of some DRC's mandate. Just want to get your sense in terms of the way forward, especially after the successive meetings with East Africa and SADC region. And maybe just based on this engagement and the EU leadership, Mr. President, the issue of the current geopolitical tension, the trade war. It's been 7 years since you've had this gathering. Do you think perhaps the current situation, the geopolitical tension we see, do you think it really expedites things to really see South African EU leadership really having this gathering? Thank you so much.
Mr. President.
Well, this summit has been in the making for quite a long time. COVID prevented us from meeting earlier, and because we are so engaged in a number of other tasks, two presidents here with European issues and ourselves here with African issues and South African issues, we were not able to find the ideal moment. And now we have, and it's such a delight to welcome them here in Cape Town, what Ursula calls the mother city. And indeed, it is the mother city in many ways. So this has been in the making for quite a while. What is happening in the rest of the globe or the world is what we are all observing. The world has changed quite drastically from what it was when we last met 7 years ago. But what we are very pleased with is that our partnership, our relationship is firm, is strong, and what is going on in the world is even going to strengthen our resolve to remain partners in order to tackle the many challenges that are arising in the world, and more particularly for us as South Africa to really appreciate the support that we are receiving from the EU as we are president of the G20, and the support that we will get in the rest of the meetings that we are going to hold from the EU, and also an appreciation not only of our priorities as set out, but also of the theme that we have put out, the theme of solidarity, equality, and sustainable development. So we appreciate the support that we are receiving from the EU. On the first question, yes, SADC held its heads of state summit today. It was a special summit. And this was to re-endorse the positions that were taken by the joint summit, which was also very historic, between SADC and the East African Community, where we called for a ceasefire and the bringing to an end of that conflict in the Eastern DRC through diplomacy and negotiations. And our summit today reaffirmed that position, and the decision to finally withdraw from the Eastern DRC by the three troop contributing countries is also based on the fact that the ceasefire that we have sought to install in that place is now being embraced, and we are going to see a ceasefire eventuating and getting the negotiations underway under the leadership of President Lorenzo, assisted by a number of facilitators, and one amongst them being former President of Kenya, President Kenyatta. So that for us is a confidence-building measure that enables us to then have a phased withdrawal from the Eastern DRC, and hoping that we will get the support that is needed from a humanitarian point of view, and indeed from a political point of view, to make sure that that ceasefire holds as the various parties, both state actors and non-state actors, parties collaborate, ensure that there is a permanent peace in that part of the world, so that the people of the DRC can carry on with their lives on a peaceful basis. So it is a forward movement of installing peace in the Eastern DRC.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Christine?
I have a question for Mr. Leyen. Given the change of course in U.S. foreign policy, how much more important is it for the EU now to strengthen alliances with its other allies? And how is the EU planning to reduce its political and economic dependency on the U.S.?
So, for us, it's very important to strengthen the ties, the bonds of friendship with like-minded countries and partners like, for example, South Africa, because what we experience in these relationships, and they have been built over years, is that on both sides there is high respect for stability, predictability, and reliability. And in these difficult times, with a multitude of crises that we are facing, it is important also for the people to know that we stay the course together, that we have a set of shared values that we are bound to, and that we are predictable and reliable. And this is for us, therefore, a very important summit that we are having here.
Thank you very much.
Second question.
Can you excuse me?
How is the EU planning to reduce its political and economic reliance on the US?
So for the European Union is very clear, we do what is necessary for us. And we have a very clear agenda. We have to increase our competitiveness, so we have to work on prosperity. And we have to step up massively the defense investment. We need a surge in defense. And therefore, together with Antonio Costa, we are working intensively on the topic of competitiveness, as you know, the competitiveness compass that we have issued, the first initiatives looking at the different sectors, from the clean industrial deal to the automotive sector to the steel sector, for example. This is one side where we are pushing hard, and we have to step up. And we are in the process to discuss with the European Council, the Member States and the Parliament, the package for investment in defence, because we know that we have gaps in the military capabilities that we have to fill, and that we have to step up the financing of our security and defence. This is something which we are doing because it's necessary for us.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Wendell?
Wendell from Reuters. The question is directed to President Ramaphosa as well as President online. In the light of Ukrainian President Zelensky's visit to South Africa next year, next month, are there any discussions to coordinate peace and security amongst the EU and South Africa regarding the Ukrainian situation?
So we had very good discussion indeed about where we can together contribute to the whole topic of pushing forward the peace process. And no one wants more peace than the people of Ukraine, and no one deserves more peace than the people of Ukraine. And therefore it was also a topic among us here at this summit. It is important that we work for just and lasting peace for Ukraine. I was very pleased to hear that President Zelensky is visiting here at the beginning of April. We exchanged view on a process that has to lead on both sides for an engagement that we have a true peace agreement, not only a ceasefire but also a true peace agreement. And therefore it was for us very important to exchange the views on how to get there.
We've always held the view that that conflict in the Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia can only really be resolved through a negotiated settlement. As I'd like to believe that all wars and conflicts are. And we've always said that we want to hasten a peace settlement between Russia and Ukraine. And we've been saying exactly that to both parties. Whereas in the past we've been branded as being one-sided. Our involvement in all this has proven and demonstrated that we are neutral, and we've been encouraging both Ukraine and Russia to find a peaceful solution. And we will continue to do so even when President Zelensky comes here. His coming here for us gives us an opportunity to encourage Ukraine and indeed encourage Russia in a number of other ways to find solutions for this conflict. We are very pleased that there seems now to be acceptance of the need for that conflict to be resolved as soon as possible. And as Ursula von der Leyen says, the people of Ukraine and indeed the people of Russia need more peace than anyone else in the world. And our task is to urge them, to encourage them, to nudge them in the way of finding a peaceful solution. That will be our key message as President Zelensky comes here. And indeed, I should add that we continue to send the same message to President Putin, as we believe that both countries, both of them, are the key role players in this, and all of us others who are on the side can just encourage them to move forward with the peace process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Peter?
Yeah. Mr. President, also if I may...
Please introduce yourself.
There are three presidents here, Peter. Which one are you referring to?
Sorry. My name is Peter Richard from Daily Maverick. I have a question about CBAM, the Common Border Adjustment Mechanism. I understand that South Africa has some objections to aspects of it, and that it will be discussed in the Senate, so that possibly looking for some kind of concession or postponement or extension of the application of it. I wondered if you could just give us some idea if it was discussed, if it was resolved, or some compromise against it.
Yes, it was discussed. It was a part of the discussions that ensued between South Africa and the European Union, and I'm glad to say that both of us are well disposed to finding a solution, and we are going to continue with our discussions. We have put certain proposals, and we are going to continue engaging. As we often say, there's always a solution to every problem or challenge, and we don't really see this one as an insurmountable one. So the various proposals, extension or some form of consideration or exemption are some of the issues that are being discussed. And we will find a very good, mutually beneficial solution on this matter. And so if you are able to stick around until November, you may well hear some good news. Thank you.
Yeah, we are in the process of listening very much to each other. What is necessary, important is that CBAM is a climate measure. It's not a trade measure, it's a climate measure. What are we doing? We basically put a price on carbon, and it is good to see that carbon pricing works. South Africa has also established its own carbon tax. It's a bit different than our emission trading system, but we have the same general approach that if you pollute, you have to pay. If you do not want to pollute, you engage in innovation or decarbonization, and this is rewarded. Very important is, as South Africa has a carbon tax paid by South African exporters, this will be deducted. This is very important. So no one has to pay twice. Very important message. And then we listened also to the worries and the concerns of South Africa and others, and we have started a process of simplification. We have basically, the process has to be finished in Parliament and Council, but we have proposed as Commission to exempt more or less 85%, up to 90%, I even think, of the companies, the scope of the companies that are falling under CBAM. So a huge amount, if not all, small and medium, anyhow, companies will be exempted not to do the work on CBAM, so a strong step into simplification. And our teams are working on the details that are now specific for South Africa and the European Union.
Thank you very much. Winnie?
Yes, hello, it's a question, Winnie Tarek from Radio France. It's a question for Ursula von der Leyen. Today, President Donald Trump threatened a 200% tariff on European champagnes and wines as a retaliation of the tariff on American whiskey. What will be, should be the answer of Europe?
We don't like tariffs because we think that tariffs are taxes and they are bad for business and they are bad for consumers. We've always said that we will at the same time defend our interest. We've said it and we've shown it. But at the same time, I also want to emphasize that we are open for negotiations. The Trade Commissioner is in contact with his counterpart in the United States, and they will have a phone call tomorrow on exactly this issue.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Caroline.
I've got an extra question for President Ramaphosa on the DRC. You say it was done in the context of the ceasefire, but I mean, we all know the situation at the moment, how fragile it is. What are the consequences of new troops leaving? Would it in question that you would go back under maybe the African Union or under is the timeline? I mean, are the boys going to be back home in a few weeks, in a few months? I mean, how do you foresee that withdrawal? And another question for the European Union. You're talking about a global envelope of 4.7 billion, but I'd like to know what is actually the money devoted to the just transition in South Africa. The US has withdrawn $1 billion. It's a huge amount compared to the whole transition plan. Is the European Union going to basically fill the gap of what the US is saying in a way? What are the exact figures?
Mm-hmm.
The exit or the withdrawal, better still, is going to be a phased withdrawal from the DRC, and it will take into account the existing conditions as they evolve on the ground. Yes, the situation is precarious, but the peace as it is now is holding, and we're hoping to consolidate that as the withdrawal process moves on. And it should be seen as a confidence-building measure to consolidate the ceasefire and the peace. One of the other issues that will consolidate that is the commencement of negotiations and talks between state actors as well as non-state actors. We see this as one of those initiatives or interventions that are going to make sure that there is peace in the Eastern DRC. In the end, the African Union obviously is seized with this matter, and it will continue to examine precisely how it should all evolve. But as for SADC and the East African community, we want a ceasefire and we want a peace as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. President Costa, anything to add?
No, I think this question is clearly for the Commission.
That was the Just Transition, Energy Transition Partnership. So indeed it is regrettable that the United States are withdrawing. What we now have discussed, the 4.7 billion euro under Global Gateway, is fresh, is a new money coming. It's independent of the withdrawal of the United States. It is a Team Europe effort, if I may call it that way. So our signal is very clear. We stay the course. We think it is an absolute excellent project. We have plenty of work ahead of us, good work ahead of us, and therefore this fresh investment from Global Gateway independent of the withdrawal of the United States.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this media engagement session. You may take leave of us, Your Excellencies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good as usual.